All right. So in the past three videos, we got a quick introduction to the Cloud Console as well as the BigQuery landing page. We did some look at how we add a public data feed and examine the metadata around that, as well as query that data set and save that query for later materialization. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double click into that save query I have right here in my query manager. I'm going to run it again so that the data is active. And then I'm going to take a look around this console. I'm going to readjust things, which I can do here, which is a nice little benefit of the query space. Okay. So you'll see up here in the query bar, I've got run, schedule. If I wanted to, set this to run on a cadence, I've already saved the query. I could download the query. If I were to click download, it would download this as a SQL file. Okay. That I could either open as in a text editor or in a MySQL, my local file reader. I could share this if I had other people in my space as well. This particular query. Now, what I want to do in this instance is actually export the results and save the results. So I'm going to come down here into my query results tab, check that I've got the year I want, I've got the country data I want, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on save results. Okay, I have a number of options. If I do it to local CSV, it'll download it right here as a CSV. I could go ahead and open that with my spreadsheet program if I wanted to. Okay, I'll see that the data looks much the same as it did here. I could save this to my Google Drive folder. If I clicked on that, it'll automatically export that job for me. I could then click go to Drive, and I would find this exact same CSV file, side by side. It's the CSV file. The difference is one is on my local hard drive, one is in my Google Drive. If I wanted to then find that in my Google Drive, I could go back to my home drive and I'll see that this query that I just ran at 527 is right here saved in a folder, and that is a CSV. Now, if I right click on this and I say open with sheets, it goes from simply being a CSV file to being an active spreadsheet or sheet. Okay, from here I could actually use the insert table function. Okay. All right. And I could, oops, it gave me some pop-ups I was not expecting. So I'm going to close that. And I'm actually just going to come up here and I'm going to select the data set and I'm going to go on over to data and I'm going to say create a filter instead. Okay. You'll see at the top then that I get these, changed, the chevron, the down chevron change. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect male, click OK, because I just want to see, say, the females. And then I'm going to go ahead and select these two columns of data. Oops. I'm going to click in this one, click on A, and then hold down the Control key and click D. And then I'm going to click Insert, Chart. Okay, it's going to default to whatever it thinks it should. And I'll get this pop-up over here, a chart editor on the right-hand side. I'll click on it, and I'm going to scroll down until I see a map with sized dots. And I'm going to go ahead and select that so that the larger the size of the dot, the more women that are represented in that country as projected for year 2030 based on current death rate or current birth rates. And it'll take a little bit of time for this data to populate as it kind of goes around, and for each country it maps that. Okay, so this is one way that I could look at this. Let's say that I decided I wanted to change the view. I'll give this a minute to finish. I could click on these three dots over here, and I could, if the chart was exactly how I wanted it, I could leave it as it is, or I could further edit the chart. I'm going to click on edit the chart because I think I want to show it a little bit differently. I think instead of the dots, I want to do it as a chloropleth map instead. There we go. So now it's showing me a darker green for those with the highest projected population and a darker red for those with the the lowest projected population. Okay. So I can also make adjustments to my scale here if I wanted to. I could say, instead of showing me all countries or, just female, I want the full aggregate count. So if I were to come back over here into my data selector and then reselect male, and then deselect female, I could see how that may differ. And so the map looks relatively the same because the highest projected populations um, are still in the same countries. But now I've got both, male and female. Click OK, and we'll see if we see any change. It doesn't look like we do. All right, so the overall view of the map still looks the same. I could, though, say I wanted to change my coloring. I could click on customize and then chart style. And I could come down here and I could say, I want this to actually be an orange and blue diverging one. Okay. Maybe I only want one particular region. Maybe I want to only look at Asia, for example, because this has got, a little bit a better blur, more of a blown in or zoomed in view for me. Okay. And so now I could also, if I wanted to add some things, I could click on this color here, right? So here we go. So it's a simple map here in Google Sheets from my Google BigQuery export. Okay, I could also click on chart right here and do a very similar thing within the BigQuery editor. So let's say, for example, I want to, instead of by country, I actually want it for, I want to restrict it to a specific country. So I'm going to say where country name, I'm going to go ahead and bring this down actually, so I can actually chart it here since there's not a built-in map chart, but I can actually do time series. So I'm going to do where country name is in, and then I'm going to quickly come over here and look back at my data again and just pick a country. We'll do Botswana. I'll make sure I format it exactly as it looks here. And we'll see what changes. So now I've got Botswana only, all men, all women, all years, looks like. Okay. And I'm actually going to do and sex is in female so that I'm only getting women from Botswana. Okay, now I'm going to look at the chart. And I'm going to change this to a line chart. And I'm going to readjust my view again. All right. And on the dimension axis, I want year. Okay, on my x-axis. And then as my measure, I want my population. So now what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the trend in population growth by year. If I were to add or remove, actually we'll say, this restriction on female and male and just do Botswana again, I would see two lines here. Okay, so now I have got, I want to remove year from this because it's showing me that and I don't want it. There we go. Okay. I could change, to a bar chart, for example, if I wanted to look at this way. There's various ways I could look at this. So one of the things that I'm noticing here at the bottom is that it's showing year as an actual. It's not formatting it as a year. So it's formatting it just as a number. So I'm going to do, I would need to do some formatting to my date field here. If I wanted to change that. So I could do as date. Let's see if that changes things. All right, we'll click on our date and we'll scroll down. Looks like it didn't really make a difference in the way that it's showing up here. So I would need to investigate a little bit further on how to format that properly, but I could then go ahead and download this PNG if I wanted to. And I have it right here. All right. So that is how you use the inbuilt functions for charting here. If I wanted to extract this as a JSON, I could do that as well. Okay, and then I can also here look at my execution details. This is meta information about how efficient my query is, how long it took, how much compute engine it required. And then my execution graph is a flow chart of the data source that I originally started with, and then the output that results. And this is more of a a meta level view of the information. Okay, so that is how I export my results from BigQuery. I can also now write this as a smaller table. I could say, now create a BigQuery table from this. We're going to put this again in the demos data set, and we're going to call this Botswana population. Okay, that's how we're going to do it. And we'll spell population correctly. I can then click go to table, and I'll see this new table has been saved. All right, if I were to open this up, I could see that this is also saved here in my demos data set for me, and I can come back to it anytime I want. If I were to preview it, I could then see it here, and now this is just another table that I've written to leverage into BigQuery. All right,